why don't you how about this? How about we start how about you start talking about trance and defining trance, because this will be something that will go on that will probably go on YouTube or whatever. So then how about you talk about trance just in general for everyone? I have an understanding of what trance is. You have a good understanding of what trance is. And and our viewers, I'm sure most of them will have a good understanding.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
And our viewers will also have, I'm sure, a good understanding of what trance is. But just just to to set up the stage, just go ahead and frame trance for us. So just talk about trance.
Sure. So, trance is nothing more than an altered state. So essentially, you can call it somewhat of a hypnotic state, or, just in general, an altered state. And essentially what happens is there are more unconscious processes that take over control. And, it's an unconscious boundary. It's an unconscious domain where you're aware of other processes that you're normally not aware of, or the lack of it.
Okay. So what are the benefits of trance, from your point of view?
Uh, so, they say you only explore maybe 1% of the mind, or 10%. I don't know what that is, but I know it's always smaller than what we're capable of. And essentially, there are, automatic processes that happen. And so these automatic processes um, are very important, for learning. Most of the things you learn are at an unconscious level. And you can move from one state to another, that's optimum for whatever task you're doing. Getting into a trance actually helps with that. And even if you're dealing with grief, or like if you're having a bad day, like you were just saying, um, you can move into different states. You can do pain control. So for example, if you have like a slight cut, or if you have general, just, any kind of pain, a trance can actually suppress that pain. Actually, they, do surgeries of people who are in trance, and, without any anesthetics. So, there's so many avenues to explore. And, a trance is the gateway of doing that.
Okay. Well, I've actually heard of this theory where they say there was a moment when they, you know, they stopped using hypnosis, and the only people that were using it were dentists, and they were saying those were the people that actually carried hypnosis from a certain stage of hypnosis from a certain era to a certain stage. uh,
Yes,
and they were using it as a pain controlling mechanism, and trance
yes,
can do pain control. I think that's probably one of the easiest things you can achieve with trance pain control.
absolutely.
Now, for me, another thing that I see, and I mean, and I know and I like about trance is um, the fact that you can make changes that usually seem impossible at a conscious level, or it can make changes that are usually slow to make, when you're conscious, and so like it's like a way to expedite the change you want to make in your inside. And so that's pretty good. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've used trance for a lot of things. I've, probably done thousands of, trance sessions.
Okay.
I think somebody else just joined the call. Um,
Yes.
yeah, welcome. Uh, Hold on, I think somebody else is also trying to join in.
Yeah. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, just give me a second. Um,
Okay. Well, if there is a lot of noise around you, just go ahead and mute that. That's okay. So can you hear us clearly?
I mean, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. I want to
yeah.
know if
Yeah. What's his name? Dreadhead?
Dreadhead. Oh, yeah.
Dreadhead, can you hear us?
Okay. We There's a lot of noise coming from your Dreadhead. If you can make it quiet. All right, so we can keep on talking about our questions, and if he has any questions, he can go ahead and ask us. Okay.
I didn't hear what he was saying. Redhead, the quality of your call is, yeah. Well, we can't hear you now. But okay, yeah. So back to our point. So I've used trance for a bunch of things, and sometimes, it's very context dependent, and sometimes it's a little harder to get into certain trances.
Sure.
And one thing I've noticed is everybody has a certain state of reality, and usually that reality is a very small reality of compared to what they're capable of doing. But despite being in a trance so many times, there are regressions that happen, and even after experiencing it, some people actually regress and feel like it never happened, it's still not possible, whatever that I did was kind of luck, because they try to do it with their conscious mind, and the conscious mind is very limited in terms of what it can do. There are certain things that it just cannot do without the help of the unconscious mind. And whenever you have the unconscious mind take over, you don't necessarily have control as you think, and that's the elusive concept that takes a little bit of time to actually master. But Milton Erickson, one of the greatest hypnotherapists and psychiatrists that I have ever read about, he actually quoted Carl Jung, and he said, one of the issues that 20s and 21st century therapists are going to be dealing with is the issue of people who have a very habituated conscious mind, and actually freeing them from those conscious limitations, because the conscious mind is only aware of 5 to 7 bits of information, and the unconscious mind, I believe, can take up to 2.3 billion bits of information at the same time. And so you can see that there is a vast difference, and your unconscious mind is also responsible for your heartbeat, and it's responsible for your breathing, and it's also responsible for all these autonomous processes. And so sometimes those things actually come closer, closer to our awareness, and they let us change our mental states. Just a second.
Yeah, and of course.
You can keep.
Yeah, one thing about trance, and I know, a lot of people are interested in trance, and they want to know what they can do with trance, one for themselves and one for others. So you can experience trance by inducing it yourself on yourself, or you can induce trance on somebody else, help them get into trance, and use that to help the person achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve. Now, it looks like you and I have two different skills. I have done a lot of transformation with other people. um,
Absolutely.
and you're amazing, and you've experienced a lot of trance on yourself, and then you have some amazing stories about trance, and I'm impressed by what you can achieve, and like all the things that you've learned about it. I know some of the people, some of our viewers are most likely interested in how to induce trance on themselves and how they can achieve it, and the others are interested in how they can form trance on other people and how they can achieve it. So if you could, before we actually go ahead and experience trance for ourselves, because we have to do that.
Sure.
uh, Before we can do that, if you can talk about how you induce trance on yourself, and how you experience it, and any give us an example of what you have used it for, and perhaps you can tell us a story or something that has happened with trance when you something
Sure.
that is pretty cool, whatever.
Sure. So one of the ways that I like to experience trance is to focus my attention on an image that actually matters. So when you focus on an image that matters, what usually happens is your attention gets fixed on that thing that matters to you, and you keep on uh, focusing on it. You actually fall into a trance, and your usual frames of reference or the way you look at things actually become vulnerable. And I've read about that a couple of years back, actually, when I was just getting started, and that became the easiest way because I felt like that would also be a shortcut whenever I want to make changes to my mind.
Okay, so when you
So,
say focusing on an image, that means something to you.
right.
When you say, focusing on an image, that means something to you. Do you mean imagining an image, like in your head, you can imagine an image that has a meaning to you and you focus on it, or is it actually a literal image that is out there, you just look and you focus on?
Well, I've done both. I've done both, but sometimes I'd rather not think about it. I'd rather just look at something that captures my attention, usually a little higher than my direct vision. So, in that aspect, that also kind of relaxes the eye muscles, and your eyes just tend to get heavier and heavier, and then you just kind of drift away into a trance. Sometimes you just everything kind of blurs out, the whole room blurs out, and you just fall into a trance very easily after that. So that's one of my favorite ways of getting into a trance. But certain people, they enjoy the relaxation, and they like to relax all the muscles, and then they just like to enjoy the comfort that they have, and then follow into a trance after that. You can go either way, whichever one works best for you. Um, but that's generally been my attitude. But sometimes just I've done so much that talking about a trance actually puts me into a trance, and you know, in the next few minutes, you can actually, whenever you're ready, you can just do a demo on me, so everybody can see, and then we'll just, go from there.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. So, can you give us examples of, a couple of things you used trance for? I can give you an example I used on myself. When
Sure.
I was very young, back home in Ethiopia, I did something, and and I used to always feel bad whenever I thought of it. It's like, like that feeling when you crunch inside, like you think about
Yeah.
it and you just
Yeah.
think, what the
Absolutely.
hell? Yeah. So I felt that feeling, and I've been with that feeling, and I had a very, very vivid memory of what happened.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Um, I guess because I was associated with that memory with this bad feeling, and so every
Hmm.
time I thought of the moment, I would remember clearly, and I would feel this bad feeling.
Right.
And once I started learning hypnosis, I used a method, and it wasn't something I did once, but I was using it over and over, and before I know it, the feeling is gone, and because the feeling is gone, even the memory started to fade away. And now I can think about the moment. I remember what happened. I didn't forget anything, but I don't feel anything about that moment. Does that make sense?
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was basically a dissociation. So, one of the good things of trance is also in dealing with, those kind of memories. And essentially, what a trance helps you do is to actually, I guess, in the NLP world, and for those who don't know NLP, NLP is neuro linguistics programming. It's basically modeling something that really works. It's a very exceptional method. I mean, if you don't know anything about it, I encourage you to read about it. Um, but essentially, what's happening is you actually are separating yourself from the memory. And your unconscious mind actually cannot tell the difference between what is happening right now and what can happen in the future and what is in the past. So there is um, I guess, constraint when it comes to the unconscious mind, because if you're, entirely in a trance, you lose track of time a lot of times. And that also happens, a movie, for example, a good movie is a very trance-inducing moment. And so, you lose track of time because at moment you actually enter into a trance. Um, I mean, you could definitely remember your favorite movies, and you can just ponder and see how that makes you feel. And also when you're having a good time, it could be with a loved one, or it could be when you're doing your favorite like activity. If you remember, you actually somehow lose track of time, and that's actually one of the benefits of trance, in a way. But it also lets you dissociate from things that you want to separate yourself from. And I mean, everybody who's lived in this world long enough actually had bad memories, or they had like something that happened in the past that they're not happy about. And trance is definitely a great way to separate yourself from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've used trance for is actually, I was in a really bad pain at one time. And I mean, this actually kind of scared me, because I got really good at doing pain control. That sometimes I feel like, okay, maybe if I have a symptom, I'm not even gonna know about it. And that was actually the scary part for me, because and sometimes I'm like, okay, I try to tell myself I want to be conscious of the pain, at least at first, and then go from there.
Yeah, you can also replace it. You can also replace the pain with maybe a tingly sensation, or some other sort of sensation, because you
Yeah,
don't want to get rid of pain and entirely, because uh, pain is a message to us, telling us we need to take care of something in our body.
exactly,
So I mean, it's good that you make it so that you can at least be conscious of it in the beginning.
exactly. Yeah. And then one other thing I was just playing around is actually doing regression on myself. And by accident, one time, I actually there used to be this pain that I used to get, when my like my skin used to get peeled over here when I was a kid. Uh,
Okay.
Sometimes I would just bite it, or sometimes I would just scratch it on a surface while I'm running. And it happened to me last year when I was walking, and it started bleeding, and immediately, like, that put me completely in a feeling that happened when I was a kid. And I was like, yo, that's an interesting experiment. But certain times, like certain smells, for example, or certain feelings, or I mean, if you have like a deja vu of what happened when you were a kid, a lot of times if you're in a good mood, that kind of reminds you, and revivifies everything that happened. um, so that's one interesting thing to kind of play around with. I definitely enjoy those, because they say, when you're an adult, you kind of lose the excitement of life, and how happy things used to make you. So
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's good. So
yeah,
are you ready to experience hypnosis?
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
All right. Okay, so I want to do something. I mean, I'm actually excited about this, because I know Dreadhead, I would like to know what to call him because I'm sure he has a different name.
Yeah.
Other than that, I know he's interested in learning how to hypnotize people.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm
So
sure this demonstration, I know you're really good at going into trance. I know I can tell you to close your eyes and go into trance, and you will go into trance.
yeah.
Um, but I'm just going to pretend as if you are just a new subject and like just a random person that I met. I'm not going to take a long time, but I will use a simple development induction so that he can see how this works, and so all the viewers that actually want to learn how to hypnotize people can see how to hypnotize people. Very simple method, right?
Okay.
So the very first thing is, of course,
Okay. Just
for
hold
you.
on a second. There's one viewer that's trying to contact me. Just stay safe.
Okay, sure. And so while he's doing that, I want to talk to you all, and I want to tell you about um, how how this works. So I'm going to hypnotize him. The most important thing about hypnosis now is that the person has to have a certain expectations of trance. Now, I don't know how much of hypnosis you all know, but uh, the first thing that you need is to build up the person's expectations. Now, there are different ways of building up a person's expectations, and I'm not going to uh, do those right now because uh, Brooke already knows about hypnosis. He has been hypnotized before multiple times, so there's no need to do it with him. Uh, it, the way to build expectations, um, there are these things called um, suggestibility tests. You can YouTube them, you can Google them. There are different ways of doing suggestibility tests. You can call it the magnetic fingers, or you can use the magnetic palms, or you can use the light hand, heavy hand, uh, any one of those suggestibility tests can use as, a method to build up expectation. So you will see a person, you talk to the person, they say they want to be hypnotized, or you ask them, they say they want to be hypnotized, or they want to experience trance. What you would tell them is you would go through these suggestibility tests. Now, the first one I personally like to do is the magnetic finger one. You see, no one can fail the magnetic finger test. And all you have to do is you have to tell the person to hold their hands up. That's right. Intertwine them and hold them tight. And take two of their index fingers out, put them right in front of their face, and ask them to imagine as if their fingers are magnets attracting one another. Now, as they do that, the fingers will start to go closer and closer to each other, and just allow that person to go through this process. And after you do this, you can go ahead and do the magnetic palms or the heavy hand, light hand, and this will just wow the person. This will build the expectation on the person. So once the person has done the magnetic fingers and they've had the magnetic palms, or they've done the light hand, heavy hand suggestibility test, just like I said, you can Google those or YouTube them, then the person is already ready to be hypnotized, and then you can go ahead and do what I will demonstrate with Brooke.
Sure. So let's get to it.
All right, sir. So obviously, I'm not going to do a suggestibility test with you because you've been hypnotized before. There's no need at all.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's
the
level
one,
5. There's
no need. You see, the only reason behind why I actually use suggestibility test is not to test the person and how they will be doing, but to convince them that they will go under hypnosis, because when they see this little tricks, suggestibility tests, and they get convinced. You can see their excitement, and they just all of a sudden they're expecting something to happen. That just makes it very, very easy to hypnotize anyone. So, are you sitting down there comfortably?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
cool. So as you're sitting down there, I want you to go ahead and take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, just close your eyes and focus on your eyelids and relax them really, really well. As you're sitting down there, listening to my voice, focus on your eyelids, relax them really, really well. That's right. Relax them all the way to the point where they are so loose, limp, and relaxed that they feel as if they have stopped working. Relax your eyelids entirely all the way to the point where they are so loose, limp, and relaxed that they feel as if they have stopped working. And when you are sure that your eyelids are loose, limp, and relaxed, and they feel as if they have stopped working, I want you to give them a try and find out when you try, they stay closed. Not trying. And once you give them a try and you are sure that they have stopped working, go ahead and take a deep breath in. Stop trying and take a deep breath in. That try and just let that relaxation from your eyelids spread to the rest of your body and allow your whole body to go loose, limp, and relaxed. From now on, my voice and all the voice around you and your movement and all the movements around you will allow you to go deeper and deeper into hypnosis. In fact, in a moment, I will count down from 5 to 0. And when I count down from 5 to 0, for every number, as I'm counting down from 5 to 0, you will go twice as deep into hypnosis as you were before. And it feels wonderful. 5. Relaxing now, allowing your whole body to go loose, limp, and relaxed. 4. Relaxing even more and more. That's right. Good. 3. Because my voice and all the voice around you, and your movement and all the movements around you will allow you to go even deeper and deeper into hypnosis. And because the deeper you go, the better you feel, and the better you feel, the deeper you go into trance now. That's right. 1, 0, take a deep breath in, and just let yourself melt and go into a deeper and deeper state of mind. That's right. In just a moment, I'll count up from 1 to 3. Do not open your eyes and wake up any sooner or any later than it takes your whole mind and body to get you into a very, very positive state of mind where you will just have like an amazing smile, this big smile. And it will feel really, really wonderful. In a moment, I'll count up from 1 to 3. After I say 3, do not open your eyes, do not wake up any sooner or any later than it takes your unconscious to make it so that's right, to make it so that you are in a very, very good state of mind, feeling wonderful, feeling really, really good with a big, big smile. 1, that's right. 2, take a deep breath in. And 3, that's right. Relax, feeling wonderful. Take your time. As I talk, while you're coming up, my voice and all the voice around you can just allow your unconscious mind to make all the changes necessary before you come back up. Feeling wonderful. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Awesome.
Uh,
Because uh, that's right.
that was good. That was a good choice.
That was a good transfer, wasn't it? That's awesome. Um, so, at any time, Dreadhead, if you do have a question, there's a chat section on the side. You can type for us, or you can unmute yourself and talk, and that's fine. So, what would you say, or any one of our viewers? So, how would you say it was like? I'm talking to you, Brooke.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the other viewers. Yeah, no, I that was that was a fantastic trance.
Awesome.
Actually, like this time around, when you say it, all the voices, it was inclusive of everything in here, and all the background noise on this side. And I'm in New York City right now, so there's considerable amount of noise, and all that stuff actually just let my internal experience be guided into a trance. And I think you covered all all the scenarios possible, and the fact that I was relaxed going into a trance was great. That was a fantastic trance. Was that from David Ailman's book, or?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's how Dave Ellman would start his induction. That's not the full induction. The Dave Ellman induction is probably the simplest way
Mhm.
to take people into a really, really deep trance. But the Dave Ellman induction has some other aspects. What I just did was the eye lock. The eye lock is how he starts with his hypnosis, and then after that, he will use fractionation, and he will make sure first the body of the person is fully relaxed, and then use fractionation, and then use amnesia, so to test that the person is actually in somnambulistic state, and in a
Uh,
very, very deep state of mind.
gotcha.
And so it's not a full Dave Ellman induction, but yes, I learned that from, where is my Dave Ellman book? Hypnotherapy. Like um, this book is pretty much like the simplest way
Yeah.
you can learn about suggestion giving, just like general suggestion giving. Very simple book. Pretty
Yeah,
good.
I think, yeah, I mean, the idler walk was a great convincer, because there is always all these other inductions, and they fail to do the convincer, so sometimes they actually take a lot longer to do, um, especially on inexperienced subjects. Um, but I think, that was, very neat and, kind of straight to the point, type of
Yeah.
track.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's what Dave Ellman is known for. Like straight to the point hypnosis. 10 minutes, a person is in somnambulism.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's
so that's
yeah,
pretty good.
yeah, definitely add his book to my collections. Uh,
Okay.
but part of the learning process of this is, of course, doing a lot of experiments, and you're gonna fail at a bunch of them, and let's find that's part of the learning process. Um, and I think actually some of my failures have, when I look back on them, they are almost funny to me. Actually, some of them are hilarious. You know, but I guess failure is part of success as well. So at this point though, um, I've actually tried and experimented with a lot of things, and one of the most interesting things was hallucinations. And so hallucination is actually a very normal process. Say, for example, people with who get really cold and hypothermia. What essentially happens is, like, they actually could be in a cold Alaska winter, and they get so cold they start to hallucinate, and they kind of feel like they're getting hot, and they start taking off their clothes. Uh, and this is actually a very normal phenomenon that happens, and then certain pains can actually also induce certain hallucinations. You know Grief can also do the same thing, um, and so I mean, you kind of know that it's there in the back of your mind, but sometimes you actually want to experience it, and not like in a sense of grief or whatever, but in a sense of something that's positive to you. And hallucinations generally help. Uh, for example, if you're stuck in something that you don't want to experience, or um, in general, if you're having pain, or if you're just like somewhere stuck, somewhere bored, you can just actually just enjoy it. I get to travel a lot, and one of the things I do, say I'm at a restaurant and I'm usually alone, I'm just, you know, like just looking, uh, just looking out the window, kind of like this, and with a straight face, and I'm kind of, just in a trance and, possibly hallucinating. And so it's a fun experience. It definitely takes a little bit of effort, but it's there. And once you know that it's there in the back of your mind, it's just a little bit of practice that it takes to actually, bring that out and experience that. And it's a lot of fun.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm sure it takes practice before you can actually be able to sit somewhere in public, stare at something, and just zone out
Yeah.
and go into a trance, right? I'm
Yeah.
sure it takes that. But once you get there, there's so much you can do with it. And I have read books about people that are very, very successful in life. And what they are capable of doing is they're just like you say, they can be at any place, any moment. Um, when they're not doing something, and they will just imagine and or hallucinate whatever goals it is that they want to achieve. So whenever
Right.
you're taking your time, it's a lot of effort, it'll take a lot of practice, and whenever you're at that moment and you're actually in trance and focused, if you can actually utilize that to focus on your goals and what you want to achieve, just imagining how it would be like once you achieved your goal. Think about how to get there. Just
Right.
imagine it clearly and vividly. Your destination, your goals. If you can do that, your unconscious mind will make it, very, very easy to get there because I will
Exactly.
find all the resources around you that can get you there.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes, like, one of the interesting things about the unconscious is, um, like we are saying, it can't tell the difference in time. Uh, and so, time and planning and, basically, drawing out a plan B they're all like better done by your conscious mind. But Igor actually had a metaphor for that, and he said, imagine the conscious mind to be the captain of the ship. And so, the captain of the ship can only just direct the ship. Um, Versus, the crew and, everybody else, they take care of the engine and, everything that the ship needs. But basically, the captain's job is to just direct the ship, and you can't have the captain do everything else. That's, just not possible. And even if it was attempted, it would just be a disaster. And that's the issue a lot of times with actually, you know, 20 and 21st century people, is that, their conscious mind is so habituated, they try to do everything with that when that's not possible. And so that leads to a lot of blockages and sticking points. And so they're not able to utilize their unconscious mind as they should to make changes, or to get from point A to point B. And so you have all these ineffective programs that are such an uphill battle. It's just, once you get to know hypnosis and trance, it is, it's such a relief to know. And it's almost painful to watch sometimes, though, when certain people are really, really struggling, trying to make this change and that change. I mean, indeed, everybody is going to have some kind of rigid point, or rigid points they're kind of stuck on. um, but generally, though, if you want to make a certain change, or say you want to change your diet, or uh, you know say you want to actually do something every day, um, that shouldn't be a problem. This shouldn't be a problem, but for some people it is. It is such a huge problem. And so um, I think, you know, using your unconscious mind and knowing how to use your unconscious mind is very important in terms of getting, from point A to point B in your goals. But you use your conscious mind to make that plot, saying, okay, I want to get here. And you basically kind of give your unconscious mind an intention, but you give your unconscious mind an intention enough to believe. Um, Now there are all these, programs like, oh, The Secret, where they say, you're gonna attract whatever, whatever you think of is what you're gonna attract, or whatever you actually focus on, the
The
universe.
law of attraction.
Yeah, yeah, the universe is gonna give that to you. Um, and possibly, yeah, that could be possible. I mean, I'm not an expert on that, but I mean, from an unconscious processes perspective, that makes perfect sense. And essentially, if you ask my opinion, what they're doing is they're giving advice and they're telling people what to do with their unconscious mind without people actually knowing it. And it really simplifies everything to the point where, they tell you to actually believe something. And a lot of times when you believe something, your unconscious actually finds pathways there, where normally if you easily give up, just because you have that belief, you're going to try one more time. And, that's how you actually like make it in certain fields. But again, of course, that's always, context dependent.
Yeah, and it's funny because we can talk about this from the subconscious point of view. We can talk about this from the law of attraction. We can talk about this from the point of religion. And either way, it works the same. You
Yeah,
seek, you shall find. That's
yeah,
the point.
yeah,
So, yeah, there's a lot you can do. And when you're in trance, uh, all you have to do is know to utilize your trance. Now,
exactly.
I'm not as much of an expert with self-hypnosis as you are because you've done so much. The best thing is not learning from, like the best people. The best thing is really using what you learned and practicing it and practicing it. And you've done a lot of that with yourself, inducing trance and experiencing it. So what do you do? Say, for example, you want to work out more, right?
Great.
So
Hmm.
you have this tool, trance. You can put yourself in trance, and you know that you can use the suggestions to make this adjustment in your life so you can work out more. What would you do to make that change?
Well, first, I think it's most important to understand and be flexible. And the concept of flexibility in terms of your beliefs is very important. Now, if a person always, looks at themselves in the mirror and says, I am fat, then, you know, what you say after I am actually defines your sense of reality. And so um, I just always tell myself I'm flexible. And so that helps me make a lot of changes. And once you actually say I'm flexible and, anything can happen, the next thing to actually do, if you're not an expert on hypnosis, is just say, I'm just going to go with this. And you actually make those suggestions once you're in a trance, and just keep telling yourself that until you start seeing results. And
Okay.
then, because a lot of times it can be harder for some people to say, oh, okay, yeah, like, I am going to be, you know, a CEO of this company that I'm going to establish. Because their sense of reality is very, um, it's a very small field that they're in. And so the first thing I think to do is to suspend, your beliefs as much as you can, and you kind of have to allow for change to come in. Uh, but generally, though, what I tend to do is I kind of try to put myself in that person's shoes and try to see how like they see things, and then I work my way back. towards where I am.
Okay. Okay.
So, you kind of see like a gap between where you are now and where you should be, and you let your unconscious take over after that because you've already done like the planning in terms of, okay, this is my point B, and this is where I want to be.
Okay, so you do that before you go into trance. So you're sitting down there, you're about to induce trance on yourself. You just think about where you are right now, or you think about where you will be, your point B, and then look backward to where you are right now, and just see the gap between. Just think about the fact that you want to move from here to point B, and then once you have that goal, once you have set that goal consciously, you go
Right.
into trance and allow the unconscious mind to make the change.
Yeah. Yep. That's what I
Okay,
usually go about. Yep.
that's awesome. That's pretty good, man. Um,
Yeah.
that's very nice. Okay,
So,
well, so is there anything else you want to do, or anything else you want to talk about, or should we just go ahead and be done with
yeah.
this one?
Yeah. So sometimes when it comes to accessing resources, I
Okay.
do want to talk about states, and certain mental states are actually more conducive for certain changes. I mean, you don't necessarily have to be in a trance to actually make changes, right? Because certain things, like sometimes they really, really resonate with you. Um, and just, one sentence, said by somebody who really knows you can sometimes change you. And so you don't necessarily have to be in a trance, but trance is usually a shortcut. Um, and generally, though, one thing I do want to say is, um, the way pop psychology is right now with, I mean, you've seen how Instagram is just has memes, and it's run over just by memes. And so what those usually do is they actually keep you stuck in a certain mental state. And so it makes change kind of difficult because you always, kind of tend to see those and you're like, okay, how is that even possible? Um, but mental states are very important, and it's important to actually like try to keep your mental state as conducive as possible for change in order to get from point A to point B.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
No question. And that's awesome. So when I do hypnosis, I usually do I do self-hypnosis, no
Mhm.
question. I have not experimented as much as you do, but what I experiment with hypnotizing other people.
Yeah, which is
And yes, so and I'll tell you this, I haven't been doing this what I'm going to tell you about right now
mhm.
for a while I were doing hypnosis. But the one thing that I noticed is very, very effective is using unconscious mind signals to communicate with the unconscious mind, and then while the person's under hypnosis, and using that to make change. It's just like like either it could be twitching a finger for a yes,
Mhm.
twitching
Yeah.
the other finger for a no, and you can use that and you can communicate with the unconscious mind and make changes. Um, but that should be something we talk about when we have a hangout, hopefully next week or the week after that, or two
Yeah.
weeks, right?
Right.
It
Yeah.
should be 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, and so, but that's, and there's so much that can be done with trance. There's so much you can do for people. There's so much you can do for yourself. If you're one of those people that study the law of attraction, the secret, and you want to, help yourself get there faster than you would, without trance. I mean, trance is the best thing because you can use it to expedite the change that you want to make.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
know, people who do the law of attraction, I'm a Christian. I think it's the same thing applies. With Christianity, you ask and you shall get it.
Yeah.
Uh, so, but when you're under hypnosis, it just makes it much, much easier. I'll tell you this, when I'm about to pray at nighttime all the time, I close my eyes, I focus on my eyelids, I relax them all the way until they stop working, and then I pray.
Oh wow. Okay.
Okay? And so it works in so many ways, and it helps so many people in different ways. And uh, hopefully, next time we will talk about how we can use trance to achieve certain goals, because this is first time we
Yeah,
did this, we didn't really have a set goal to talk about. We just went and we just rambled, and hopefully next time you will hypnotize me, and
sure,
we'll work on something. Or
sure.
what do you think? Is there anything else you want to say? Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, this is just, us babbling. Like you said, it was very spontaneous. I mean, we just, we never really did any preparations. Most of this stuff, I mean, we're really improvising right now. And so next time, we would have like more specific things. And if you have some ideas, or if you have a few things that you want to ask, just shoot us, an email or a comment, or you can always reach us and we'll answer your questions.
Definitely, definitely.
Mm.
And with that, I guess we'll stop this broadcast.
Sure.
Have a good day, everyone.
Yeah. Good night.
All right, sir. Good night.